Hey heroes, welcome back to the extended edition over here on Patreon and Apple Premium. As we were talking in the last episode about Logain's role in season 2 of the Wheel of Time. Now we're in Lord of Chaos, book 6, and in the books, for starters, we've said in the show just following season 1, man, they've already moved a lot of Logain, it feels like, up. Just because we're getting more of him than we did really in the books. He's kind of like, you just hear about him. He's kind of a really minor character until about book 5. And now he's talking about how the Red Ajah set him up. And you and I said during the episode, that might be an interesting thing to pull into season 2 because they've got a really good actor playing him. Seems like they're going to be moving Logain quite a bit up, which I'm sort of fine with. I'm fine with having more Logain. I think there's stuff you can do with him, including I think he could be your Osmodian character in a way. Like he could be the one that teaches Rand how to channel as that male channeler, right? So he can sort of serve as some of that role, because it does seem like we're going to have less Forsaken. So I will toss it to you because you know way more about what happens to Logain after where I'm at. You don't have to spoil anything. You could have certainly allude to stuff, I suppose. But what do you think you would do with Logain? One, in season 2, thinking where we're at, like what of his story are you going to bring forward to make a condensed Wheel of Time show?
Let me do a double intrigue here. So we're in extended edition. I'm going to tell you what I think about where we're at currently and something really interesting that could happen. And then after this conversation with Matt, I'm instantly going to keep the mics hot and I'm going to give everybody the spoiler
Edition.
like because I think those are fun. I hope people are enjoying those. I did one not too long ago, and I hope you guys liked it because it's really cool just to talk about both of those things, right? Where we're going in some specifics, but like. Okay, so right now, as Matt just found out, this chapter earlier was big because Logain is now talking about a plot, a plot by the Red Ajah, and the Blues put that in his mind. Now it happens after the fracturing of the White Tower, so it's like it's almost like the gloves are off. Right now we're at war. They're at civil war, straight up. Like they deposed their Amerlin, they stilled them without a trial. Like they stilled the keeper. I mean, that's insane, man. They did some pretty radical stuff, and it was all because we're keeping information from you and
Right.
whatever. So he starts this conversation with the Altarans, who he's kind of like wanting to say, hey, the Reds, and this is one conversation. Matt's only seen just the one conversation, but you can imagine they're trying to they're communicating from Salidar. The White Tower is communicating, so saying no, we're legit. Salidar is saying no, we're legit. We're the real Aes Sedai camp you should be following, right? They are kind of have turned. That's tough. That's a tough sell. Which side's going to win? How are you going to get backers and supporters to support your side? It's very real, actually. Like the way Robert Jordan does it, they have to go to different groups and say, here's why you should trust us. We actually have the false dragon, Logain. And he is telling you a story about how the Reds actually came to him and said, we know you can channel. We want you to proclaim yourself Lord Dragon. And then basically set him up and forced him to do these things, like they were as if they were going to kill his family or something, and that they're these ultra bad guys. So that can actually happen, I would say, in season 2 right away. Whether it's a big, like it's a lot, or not, I feel like they could start those rumors. You could start all of that conversation. And one thing I think that Matt is seeing, and I know now this might be a little bit spoiler, but what happened in this chapter, because I think you got to tie like Logain, Suan, and Leanne. Matt knows, we all know at this point in the reread that they are stilled, right? Logain is gentled. So we all know that. I think you can also lump this in there with, I don't know that they're going to be stilled next episode, but they to accelerate the cracking of the White Tower. First, you got to do a little bit like the first half of season 2. You still got to see the White Tower. You got to understand. You got to get used to it. So I don't think we're going to see it fractured or split. We could see Swan deposed, and that would be interesting to have her there with Logain talking about this and starting this whole plot of like kind of, I don't know, kind of dividing people against the Red Ajah. I think that's very likely to happen. And if you want to keep that character as a major cast member, I mean, how many episodes? Was in like 2 episodes or 3? He was in a handful, right?
Yeah, he's in a handful. Yeah.
So again, he only needs to be in about 3 to 4 episodes, half the season, and just where you have these major conversations where you're talking to the former, false dragon, or whatever, Logain, and you bring the groups in and you sow discord. You straight up start to sow discord. Now, the opposite here, see, this would almost be like they're doing it before a fractured white tower, which, like, if Suan does that as the Amerlin seat, that is a reason to depose her. You know what I mean? That
Yes.
would give them a more
Yes.
legitimate reason to do it. And then you'd almost be sympathetic to the Reds. Will they go that far? I don't know, but would it not be shocking if they did? I know people are probably screaming like, Ez, that ain't gonna happen. But I try to think of ways that they're gonna do that stuff. Like, how do you start the low gain? How do you bring the Logain plot forward? Um, to this extent. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Nynaeve will have to start studying healing. She has to go back to the tower, figure out her block. Like in in these batch of chapters, we've learned she's a wilder. She has a block, and so she's got to figure out how to get over that and channel without getting angry all the time. And she has become more natural. Really, all of the, I mean, Egwene needs to. They all need to go to the White Tower and have their moment with Elaine and figure out that they're channelers or really start to use their powers. I mean, they did use it because they were linked and stuff, but we definitely need to see more of that. But I think the conversation with Logain is starting early. What do you think?
I do too.
Yeah.
Just because they've clearly made it seem like he is, I guess like, I don't know. They've already cast an actor. We got to see like the flashback of him sort of destroying the city, um, or like turning the city right to join with him.
Mm-hmm.
I just I think, yeah, man. I think, why not? Why not bring his story forward? I mean, if his story, without even me reading it, if his story doesn't even start until book 6, I guess I don't really know. Obviously to know where it goes, but is that
Well,
something you think that can parallel or line up with
yes.
potentially Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn storyline? Like maybe you just
Well,
start his story in Shadow Rising. He's off with, like, say, Swan. So, and Min, right? He's with that sort of group, right? That are traveling.
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, somehow
Here's
he's got to leave the White Tower. I guess maybe he leaves the White Tower in season 2, or maybe he's just there and they have a conversation with him. You could have a reduced role, but I just feel like if we're only going to get potentially 5 to 6 seasons, you
buddy.
gotta do
I
something.
just okay. If they're cutting Forsaken, which they've cut, we talked about Agenor, Bathamel, other people who they've kind of cut out. Osmodian. Do you really need Osmodian, or is it more important to use Logain? You've brought this up multiple times. I won't be surprised if they do it. And I just thought of a way in which they could do it. How do you get them away from the White Tower? Well, who do we see in the Great Hunt and other, well, I guess it's in the Dragon Reborn, at the White Tower in disguise? We see Celine, but then eventually we know it's Lanfear. We know Lanfear shows up there.
Right.
Lanfear is the one who puts Osmodian with Rand, and he can't channel. Osmodian is unable to channel and fight. And what I mean, actually, Rand fights Osmodian and beats him, right? First, once he's beaten, then she kind of traps him so that way he has a trickle
Right.
of the one power to train. Now, what would be interesting is if they try to do something like, okay, Logain, you train him even though you can't touch the power, the source. Like, what was it like? Just coach him through it. You don't have to use the power, but talk to him about, because a lot of the coaching that the girls get early on in the training is there's not really examples provided. It's sort of like the flower blossoming and talking you through reaching inward and all that kind of stuff. So he could do something, I guess, like that, and he could start that whole role, and he could then come back into the Sally Dar group later on and start and maybe before he left the White Tower, he starts this whole conversation about the Reds, and he that's his little way to get a little jab back at them for but like betraying him. Because I was just thinking the way the show set it up, it's not necessarily the Reds anymore. It's more the whole White Tower that he hates. And that's something Lanfear could use and say, hey, I need you. Time for you to step up. Let's go train. And he
That
saw
could work.
Rand, right? Yeah, he
Right.
saw Rand and he was like, that's the guy, right? That's why the big theory people know that he has an ability to kind of see Taviran, and he can Once he saw Rand in Camelin, he knew what he was looking at, and he understood who he saw there. That's why he has that crazy laugh when he's looking at Matt and Rand, and it's meant to kind of confuse us, like, oh, who is he looking at in that thing? But truly, he's looking
Right.
at Rand. So yeah, they're now. I'm starting to more think maybe the Osmodian thing could be a thing because you've already cast him. Why bring in if you're going to cut Forsaken and not show us all of them? Because it's a lot, 13, right? Just change it to another, I don't know, number 6. I don't know. Well, whatever they want to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, you're just gonna have to you're gonna have to figure out a way, I guess, to bring them forward. A lot of it's going to depend on what else they're doing. I have seen some of the leaked pictures and stuff like that, and it seems like the Sean Chan's actually going to be a much bigger part of it of season 2. So I guess if we're at the tower and we're hanging out, and they said Logain's going to be hanging out there, so
yeah,
maybe I guess we just talk to him. I guess I don't really know what else we're gonna do. I suppose.
Right, and so that's just yeah, I can give you one thing that I think is not spoiler at all. That I think, and it really is not, because this is truly just speculation. This is not really necessarily like related to the books or whatever. And I know people who are listening have read the books are like, well, it kind of is, but it's also really not. You already have Nynaeve wants to study people who have been stilled, so she could easily just choose to study like Logain or something. You know what I mean? Like that.
That could work. Could work.
She could just be the person that instead of, you don't have to still Suan and Leanne. You already have somebody who's gentled, even though that's a little different. But again, the show's doing stuff different, so who cares, right? I mean, maybe we're speculating here, trying to figure out what they might do with Logain. So yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, that could work. That could
right?
be an interesting way to do it.
Because she's totally intrigued. Every time she comes back to Sally Dar, she wants them to sit down. Like, she'll give them information about Teleron Riyadh and share gifts and share different things that she's learning if they let. She's a fascination with it. She wants to study it. She doesn't believe that something can't be healed. And all the other Aes Sedai will not even come near. They don't even like to really look at Suan and Leanne. They feel so bad. They feel so awful. What if that happened to us? Like, it's just like it's an awful thing to even look at, and it makes them all feel queasy and awkward. And so Nynaeve embraces that. She's a wilder. She's a village wisdom, and she wants to study those things. So that'd be cool. That would be really cool to see her do that, actually.
Yeah.
Be that close. Well, hey, and you know what? One more thing before we wrap this up. Who was it that he looked at and saw in the cave do all the stuff? Nynaeve, right? So
right.
I think that makes a lot of sense, that he kind of believed her to be almost like the dragon, because that was still when we were speculating. And the whole quote about the sun, right, will be brighter than the sun. And he literally saw her like heal everyone in that room that he had just killed, bring back to life. So yeah, crazy.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, I love talking about Logain, one of my favorite characters. So
okay. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, as always, thank you guys so much for supporting us here on Apple Premium and on Patreon. As I say it every time, because it's the truth, it is an enormous help to us. Continue to grow this thing, and hopefully someday become a full-time content creators, because we are closer now than we've ever been before. Let me say that. Yeah. And I will say this: the minute we are able to do this stuff full time, the sheer amount of content and quality of content you get will improve so dramatically. I cannot even begin to explain.
Yeah.
Like
awesome. We love it, guys. Like, it's
right.
It's all we think about. So yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's cool.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys, with that, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember that the grave is no bar to our call.